Welcome to the GTP. Have you ever wanted to be in the room when a publisher announces a new series and you're curious of the fan reaction? It's almost like going to a movie opening night and there's such a difference with the audience and the enthusiasm and the excitement and the laughs when you watch a movie opening night compared to seeing the movie at a later date. And the similar was true with my experience at Sakura Con this last week at the Yenpress panel. So in this episode, I'm going to share with you what it was like from the fans' perspective and reactions, hearing from the panel hosts themselves about new and upcoming titles. So let's go ahead and get started. Speaking of Sakura Con, would you subscribe to the channel? That way you are notified when I share an upcoming video about the experience my family and I had at this wonderful anime and manga and Japanese cultural con. And in the comments below, would you mind sharing which of these titles are you most excited that Yenpress will be releasing? One of the biggest highlights of Sakura Con was the Yenpress panel. The four hosts were hilarious, they were engaging, and you could hear the passion in their voice as each of them shared about a different upcoming release. I even loved the joking they had around with each other, as one person said, "I forgot to bring books, but I do have a water bottle for all of you." And another person said, "You're giving them a water bottle but not any water for it? And plus it's not a book. You know everybody's here for the books." And the crowd just went wild with laughter. It was a fun experience, and they were even kind to answer our questions at the end of the panel. So let's go ahead to the announcements. And I apologize in advance. I wrote down as much as I could during and after the panel so that everything was fresh in my mind. I could be missing out on a few details, or I apologize if I undersell a few of these series. There truly was something there for everyone with the many different releases they had at the Yenpress panel. Now the first announcement was the Vision Illustrators 2022 Artbook, which is similar to the Vision Illustrators 2021 Artbook, but obviously with different art. What it was exciting about this book was to find out that there is actually art from over 170 different artists. I was able to find the book online, but it's only right now currently available in Japanese. Also, you have to order it overseas. And the cheapest I could find shipping for this book from overseas was $25. So for those who are enthusiastic with art books, it's going to be great that they're able to bring this title over, and obviously for a much cheaper price and in English than having to purchase it overseas. Now the next title was called The Demon Sword Master of Excalibur Academy. Man, that was a little bit of a tongue twister. This series right now is actually only in a light novel version, and now they're going to be adapting the light novel into a manga. The story is about a demon lord that is reincarnated as a 10-year-old boy and is under the care of a girl that you see in this photo from the picture. It looks kind of interesting. I'm not big into light novels, but I am interested to see what the manga adaptation will be, and this was actually something I never heard of before until this panel. Now the next title that was announced was another one I had never heard of before, and that was Thermae Romae Omnibus, and I apologize if I'm butchering it a little bit. It's about an architect who lives in ancient Roman times, down on his luck, and somehow is flung into the future and lands in Japan and decides to open up a successful bathhouse. It seemed interesting. I'm trying to keep an open mind, and I look forward to learning more about the actual story when it's actually released. Now this next title got a few laughs from the audience, and it's called Arya Sometimes Hides Her Feelings in Russian. And this is about a story of a girl from Russia that now lives in Japan, and while attending school, somehow has feelings for this nerdy boy, and she decides to share and speak to him in Russian, assuming he has no idea what she is saying. The hilarious part is that unbeknownst to her is that the boy actually speaks and knows Russian and decides to keep that to himself, not revealing to her that he knows what she is saying. It seems to be a funny romantic comedy, and I'm looking forward to hear more about it as the series comes out. Now the next title up is called Gods, Games We Play, and this is actually a light novel, and it's a story about a goddess that decides to team up with a genius to go against other gods. In the story, gods aren't very liked by humans, they're kind of mean, they're mischievous, and somehow this is a story about a genius boy teaming up together with who was a goddess, and together decides to play games against these other gods. Now this next title is called Apparently Disillusioned Adventurers Will Save the World, and the panel did a phenomenal job hilariously sharing the story. This story is about a main character and his group of adventurers finds out that another person in their party is actually stealing from everybody else. And when he goes to do the right thing, letting everybody know that someone else in our group is stealing from us, instead of them praising him, he's essentially fired and kicked out of the group. Next, after being fired, his girlfriend dumps him. So the only thing he decides to do now is he ends up spending all his money that he has because he has an addiction to idol concerts. It sounded hilarious. You couldn't help but laugh out loud, this idea of someone obsessed with idol concerts to the point of going bankrupt, does the right thing, gets kicked out of his group. And the story, he's at the local watering hole where he joins up with other adventurers that are also considered disillusioned, and now together they go and save the world. And they said it has vibes of an RPG. Someone like myself, I grew up playing RPGs, so it's very near and dear to my heart. So I think this would be a phenomenal and fun title to read. The panel did a great job selling the series. Now next up is a new light novel called The King's Proposal. And this is a story about an all-powerful witch who ends up feeling sorry for a young boy and ends up giving all her power and even her life for this boy. Now going forward, this boy has received her powers, but somehow is not able to control her. And the story is about the two of them trying to get along, as well as deciding whether or not humanity will be saved. The story does seem interesting for anyone who's interested in light novels. Now the next title announced is called Touring After the Apocalypse. And it sounded like it's a story about girls together on a bike in Japan, touring and being the last people alive on Earth. And what got me excited and sold on this title when they said this series is very similar to Girls Last Tour. They said if you like Girls Last Tour, this is going to be a series for you. So as someone like myself that has Girls Last Tour, this is going to be a title I plan on immediately picking up when it's available on release. Now the next series that was announced was a story called The Gay Who Turned Kaiju. And this is a story of a boy, unfortunately, that is constantly bullied in school and somehow ends up turning into a kaiju himself. It's a story about him navigating school, a kaiju, and his teacher somehow can see him as not a kaiju. Definitely an interesting premise. Now the next series that was announced is called Tomb Raider King, and the panel host shared if you love solo leveling, you're gonna want to check out Tomb Raider King. And I am one of those people who enthusiastically loves solo leveling. Each time a new book comes to my home, I drop what I'm doing and I immediately read the story in one sitting. Now solo leveling currently has 3 volumes out right now with a 4th on the way. And I'm looking forward to seeing another series that scratches that same itch as Tomb Raider King releases hopefully later this year. Now the next series that was announced is called Villains Are Destined To Die. And I felt a little embarrassed that I never heard of the series before, but everyone in the crowd seemed to knew something I didn't, as the crowd went wild in cheers and excitement when they announced this title. More people were excited about this announcement than any other story that was talked about during the Yenpress announcements. Now this is a story about a girl who always beats a game on the easy mode and eventually decides to play the game on hard. After beating the game, she somehow wakes up in the game itself, and now it's become a real world, but instead of waking up and being the hero, she's now the main villain. Now what's supposed to be hilarious in this story is that when she speaks, the only options she has are the options you have in the game itself when it comes to speaking, and not what you'd have in real life. So with everyone so enthusiastic and excited, I knew this is a story I needed to check out for myself when it releases. Now the next series that was announced is called My Gently Raised Beast. And this is a story about a girl who finds a cat that can talk. Not only can the cat talk, but apparently can also turn into a boy. Not only can the cat talk and turn into a boy, but apparently the cat is also a powerful demi-human who has something against humanity. Now it sounds like the story's about the girl who tries to convince the cat, who's also a boy and a powerful demi-human, to change his way of thinking and that humanity is not so bad after all. Now the next series that was announced is called The World After the Fall. And I'm really excited for this title as a panel host did a phenomenal job selling the series. It's about this magical tower that appears from nowhere into the world and has 100 levels that needs to be cleared. Many different adventurers go through the tower but fail miserably trying to clear and get to the 100th level. Eventually, somehow people are able to travel to the path, learning from their mistakes, hoping to clear the tower but still fail. Then an adventurer eventually climbs his way and makes it through to the 100th level to all of a sudden find out something he was not expecting to be on the 100th level. And it was at that moment you could not hear a single word in the room as everyone was hooked, waiting for the panel guest to share what is on the 100th level. And they left it at that. I am hyped, I'm excited, and I cannot wait to find out for myself what he found on that 100th level of World After the Fall. Now the next title that was announced, many people in the audience were also really excited to hear, and that is called The Boxer. I was excited to hear about this story as well, as I've been expanding my horizon, dipping my toes in different series I normally wouldn't read. I don't know too much about boxing, but I am interested in checking out this series as there's not many boxing titles available in English. The host did a great job sharing that's not focusing a story only on the ring, but the main character's life outside the ring and the different characters that influence him. So this is a series I will be checking out once it releases. The next title that was announced is called The Remarried Empress. Unfortunately, it's a story about a king who chooses to have an affair and falls in love with another woman. Next, the king demands a divorce from the empress. Shockingly, the empress agrees to the divorce, and you follow the empress as she tries her hand of trying to find a husband and remarry. It seems to be a story about drama, political intrigue, and romance. Last, I'm going to talk about 3 titles together, even though they are announced individually, as they all have something to do with K-pop. I don't know too much about K-pop myself, but there were a few in the audience that were jumping up and down with excitement of the announcement of these titles, and that is Star Seekers, Dark Moon, and Seven Fates. Star Seekers has to do with K-pop and magic, Dark Moon has werewolves and vampires, and Seven Fates is an urban fantasy story. And you could see the passion from the panel host as she talked about and shared the stories of these different series. If you're someone who loves K-pop, I highly recommend checking out these 3 titles. Thank you for staying this long in the video, as I know this video is a little longer with so many different announcements at the Yenpress panel. I had a great time at this panel, and I hope to have the opportunity again. The panel hosts were extremely kind and friendly. They're willing to answer people's questions, as well as you could see how much they love being in this industry. If this content has been helpful in any way, would you like, comment, and share with a friend? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.